Back with another episode of Cannabis Legalization News and MITA Unshackled here in Baltimore, Maryland. It is beautiful out. We are enjoying the company of hundreds of individuals who are teaching us about the Maryland market structure, the Maryland opportunity, more stuff about the cannabis industry, more stuff about social equity, and very importantly, what the opportunity is out there for the social equity applicants in the Maryland space. So as you watch us, you're going to learn all about that stuff. Demitri Downing here with
Tom Howard. You can find me at CannabisIndustryLawyer.com. Don't forget to smash that like and click subscribe, because we're going to have a wonderful conversation about a component in the cannabis stack of different things that you need to operate a cannabis license that you have to ace. Because if you don't, you're going to have a problem with theft or compliance or anything. I believe today we're going to be discussing security and various things about security and IDs. So let's introduce our guests. With us is
Kenny and Tim.
Kenny and Tim.
Who wants to go first?
Go ahead, Kenny.
Who are you? Why am I here? Wasn't that like a vice presidential candidate? Who am I?
I am not running for vice president.
Oh, okay, well, you could.
All right.
My name's Kenny Peddicord. I'm the director of cannabis for a company called IDScan.net. The name, the implication is exactly what it is, which is that we provide the digital ID scanning technology for the cannabis industry. We are the only vendor in the space that's identifying fraudulent versus legitimate IDs, specifically for the health and safety of minors. And then we also have custom settings for personal information, what's the acronym known as PII. Many of the states are concerned about how consumers' personal information should be managed, so we also have data dump settings, hash data settings, anonymized fields, things like that.
So eventually, once people win their license, they're going to need to come to a company like yours and say, hey, how do I do this? What's the system?
If they have concerns about not serving teenagers, then yes. If they have concerns about how to manage personal information, then yes.
And most states have some sort of requirement that makes this necessary.
Well, it's any state that's serving legal cannabis recreationally, you must be 21 years old. The question is, how do you make that decision to confirm that someone is or is not 21 years old?
And this, so somebody could just check their ID versus your system, which works, which fooled me, by the way. They have a good system.
Fake IDs don't work for it.
There's like 5 fake, there's a big fake ID board in the booth next to us, and it fooled me. But talk about why your system is better.
Well, aside from what you just mentioned, the subjective analysis of someone deciding whether an ID is fraudulent or not, unfortunately, the way this industry was stood up about 6 years ago, there is like state mandates in various states that says you have to use technology to scan IDs. There's also state mandates that says what you can or cannot do with that personal information. The way that our industry was set up, many states had their heart was in the right place when they made regulations saying you have to scan personal information. You have to be able to scan the ID. You have to do certain things with the data. But ironically, they left the language at that. So there is a lot of scanning that's going on in our cannabis vertical that has no validation component. So in other words, they're scanning fake IDs. In fact, we have the metrics. Between 2 and 5% of the customers that are coming into retail dispensaries are failing our authentication analysis. That means we're serving teenagers at about a 2 to 5% rate of any volume of metrics that's going through a given dispensary.
Did they get it right in Maryland?
For the most part, yes. I don't know specifically about the regulations, but we do have a lot of traction to begin with. For one thing, you have a lot of multi-state operators. They were already our clients at IDScan because, as I mentioned, we're really the only vendor in the space that's identifying these fraudulents at that level. So, via Verana Holdings, Curaleaf, Ianthus, Holistic Industries, Green Thumb Industries, and more, they already had our system. So by definition, as they expanded into Maryland, they expanded their presence with us. And I think that what that's kind of done is set the tone in general for the idea that exposing the state that this is the proper workflow.
And I know your company offered some sort of discount for social equity license holders. So if you went out there, put them on your list, contact first to make sure?
Absolutely. Mention any reference to social equity, and we'll be happy to provide a discount.
That's absolutely awesome. By the way, I had a fake ID when I was 19, and at a certain point, I allowed somebody else to use my personal documents to create their own ID. Yeah, I did that. We're unshackled. Nothing but the truth.
Criminal.
Yeah.
Criminal.
This was. I'm way outside the statute of limitations on that. So
What's up, sup?
If I could comment about that, though, the fact is, today, given when we were younger and we were using our fake IDs, the technology on the other side, it's a cat and mouse game, and there are fake ID providers that are using the same manufacturing equipment that our DMVs are. So you can get, for example, 3 IDs for $200 on the dark web from China, and they're going to be using the same equipment that Maryland is. So you really do need the technology to compete with the black market technology that's providing fakes to these minors.
Wow, you certainly are an expert in this space, and I hope social equity applicants reach out to you and utilize your services. Thank you for your information. Do you want to get on to Tim?
Yep. Hi. Tim Sutton. I'm a senior consultant and a cannabis practice leader with Guidepost Solutions. We are a large consulting firm representing all of the United States and the world, actually.
What does Guidepost Solutions do?
Well, we have 2 divisions: security technology and consulting, and monitoring, compliance, and investigations. I work in the security technology and consulting side. Within the cannabis industry, I work with applicants, people looking to get a permit. As you know, you must have a security plan in order to get a permit. That security plan is worth about 30% of the score. So it is imperative that you don't miss points on your security plan or anywhere. But security is one that, if you go to the right people, it should be 100% score.
And it's nice that you guys offer that consulting where somebody actually needs you to implement a security and technology plan for their enterprise. But Tom, I don't think, are they requiring some sort of security thing here in Maryland?
Perhaps. First, you have to be eligible in Maryland, so you have to fit the social equity criteria. And then there's this algorithm that's still kind of mysterious that we haven't gotten from the Maryland Cannabis Administration yet. And you need to have 3 pieces of narrative. I believe one of them is a security plan, another one's a business plan, and I think the third one's your diversity and social equity plan. I could be wrong. That security plan may actually be an operating plan. I don't have it in front of me, but you can't get open without a security plan. Like you just can't. And so there are security regulations in every state. In Illinois, it was about 30 to 40% of the score was a security plan. It was 60 pages long. It had to cover freaking everything. And so there are rules. And these rules deal specifically with what you have to keep, like how long the electronic data has to be backed up, who gets to get access to the electronic data, how much electronic data, and yes, you need a security company to help you with that, so not only do you get all the points, but also they have the ability to then build that security system which is compliant, which you told the regulators that you are going to do.
What has Guidepost? Oh, go ahead if you had a comment.
Well, yeah, I was going to comment on that, Tom. You said the security company, and I just wanted to stress that is something that I have seen many times people taken advantage of. And in reality, they're taken advantage of. They're preyed upon by people that say they can provide things that they really can't. That they're not qualified to provide, and that they honestly can't provide. The security plan is not just a spots and dots drawing of here's a camera in this room and that's my security plan. That's one small part of a security plan. That is the technology plan. There's also security management and security operations. If you go to the wrong people, if you go to people that only know that sell cameras and install cameras, that's what they're going to sell you. That's what they put on a security plan. I have experienced it. I have cleaned up for many people plans that were lacking in operational and management principles and policies and SOPs.
I'll tell you a quick story. When we applied for Missouri back in 2015-16, we used our security team from Arizona. and they had no idea what they were doing for security plan.
But they said, "This is our invoice, boss."
And this is what we can do.
Yeah.
But we didn't have Guidepost Solutions at that time.
No, and I worked in Missouri applications as
Well, I
well.
didn't know
No, but
I did.
my point on that was that I really enjoyed that application process because it illustrates exactly what I'm saying. The security portion of the application for the Missouri medical was like in 125 words or less, and it could be a different number, okay? 125 words or less, describe how your security plan will prevent diversion and theft. I don't think that a guy that puts a camera in the middle of the room as a fisheye camera that installs that camera can tell you how that camera is going to prevent theft.
And it's just a very important component of the entire industry, as you were saying, that social equity applicants either need to know now or later. And so what sort of special discounts and opportunities do you offer the social equity community out there?
Well, we're
See how I
generally
lock them in? Even if they don't have something, they will by the end of the show. Okay.
I just spoke with someone at our booth actually on that. I said, if you don't go with me, don't go with me. I don't care, but here's some things you need to think about. I do care. I'd love to work
Sounds
with
like
you.
my dating life.
But you you need to work with someone, and here's some questions you need to ask so you don't get taken advantage of. And I have explained that is what happens out there, and that it shouldn't. And as far as a rate from us, we do discount our rate heavily. $250 an hour is what it generally costs to talk to us talk to me anyway, as a cannabis consultant, which is already discounted. And then going down to $179 an hour for a social equity.
Excellent.
That's a significant difference, and we continue that all the way through. Not just from the application process, but once the permit is awarded, we can work with you all the way through, and we can also do outsourced security management.
You can talk to me for free, but it might not be helpful. Just kidding. These guys filled with expertise over here. Call them. We got a shortened one because we got a thing coming up. Let's close this out with any advice that you have for social equity applicants out there, and how do people get in touch with you? Any thoughts? Like, keep hope alive.
Well, the advice I would have for social equity applicants, it's out of my area of expertise. All I can say is that, Tim and I have crossed paths before in other states, and we have a meeting of the minds. The idea that he's saying, ask these critical questions. I was just at a store that thought they were scanning IDs, thought they were catching fakes, and I had to unfortunately tell them, like, you've been hoodwinked a little bit. There's no validation, and I gave them a bunch of fake IDs that all scanned in as real. Please identify yourself as a social equity applicant. I would love to give you a discount. I fully support it, and we will support it monetarily also.
But how do people get in touch with you?
Peddicord at IDScan.net. IDScan.net, the domain it's spelled like it sounds. Peddicord, KPEDDICORD. And maybe easier to remember would be my personal cell number, 312-927-0845.
I love a man who gives out his cell phone number, 520-909-4334. I haven't given out my cell phone number yet, so thank you for reminding me of that.
I'm not. Tim, how can people get in touch with you?
Well, I'll start with my cell phone number, and that is area code 312-937-0137. Email is tsutton@guidepostsolutions.com. We couldn't make it much longer, but it is exactly as it sounds, guidepostsolutions.com.
Bits of advice?
Chicago boys.
Inspiring?
Yeah. Bits of advice is know who you're getting your information from,
Right.
and make sure that they are qualified to give you the information they're trying to give you. Integrators are not who should give you a security plan to call someone out. Police and law enforcement don't inherently understand security because of their experience in police and law enforcement. Utmost respect for both industries doesn't mean that they didn't learn security, because they very well could have. But in general, just because you're a cop or we're a cop or we're in combat overseas does not mean you understand security.
Excellent. I tend to get most of my information from Luke, Paul, Matthew, and some other guys that I can't validate, but I've learned to trust them.
Sure.
Well, they only wrote one book each.
So, guys, we have to get on to the next one, but we are thrilled that you guys spent some time. Introduce yourself to the audience out there, and I want to run over and check this ID. over at this My Idea. I want to make sure it's real. I can't remember where I got it.
Yeah, let's go. Let's do it. Thanks for having us.
Oh, yeah. Tune in for another episode of Cannabis Legalized News with MITA Unshackled. We're going to have more content, and we're actually doing the podcast next. So this won't air until after the podcast airs.
Yes, correct. This will air like August 1st. This will start going out as a package.
There's like 100 viewers that'll watch this. They'll be like, that was for you, 100 viewers.
It's all right. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, guys.